BradyFarkas.com for store locations and hours.
I struggled with symptoms like frequent gas and stomach pain for years.
I was bloated all the time with daily diarrhea.
At first, I thought it was what I was eating.
I kept thinking it was stomach issues.
So I did my research and talked to my doctor, and we finally uncovered the truth.
It was actually EPI. Exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI, is a condition where your pancreas is unable to help break down your food.
It can lead to symptoms like diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, unexplained weight loss, and oily stools.
And EPI symptoms can be confused with those of other common digestive conditions, like irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, and celiac disease.
So getting to the right diagnosis meant being more open with my doctor about the severity of my symptoms and how often they were happening.
But there's good news. EPI is manageable, so don't wait any longer. Use the symptom checker at identifyepi.com and schedule a visit or call with your doctor to ask, could I have EPI?
Sponsored by AbbVie.
WDEV believes in airing a wide variety of opinions and perspectives. The views expressed in the following feature do not necessarily reflect the views of the management and staff of WDEV. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
And now, here's Eye on the News with commentator John McClory.
Former Senator and presidential candidate John Kerry has long been one of my least favorite people. He's now the high-level Biden climate ambassador charged with persuading the world to join in the war against climate change. Let me share with you one of his recent pronouncements. When interviewed on British Broadcasting's Arabic radio service, Kerry said, "I'm concerned about Ukraine because of the people of Ukraine and because of the principles that are at risk. And I hope diplomacy will win. But there will be massive greenhouse gas emissions consequences to the war. But equally importantly, you're going to lose people's focus. You're going to lose certainly big country attention because they will be diverted. And I think it would have a damaging impact. And so I hope President Putin will help us to stay on track with respect to what we need to do for the climate." What a useful thought. I hope President Putin is listening. The Wall Street Journal, hearing this Kerry observation, editorialized on the Biden administration's obsession with climate and with punishing fossil fuel production, which has made the U.S. and Europe vulnerable to Mr. Putin's energy blackmail. The climate lobby has made Mr. Putin more powerful. Every time Mr. Kerry visits Moscow, the boys in the Kremlin must think it's Christmas. Well, that may be a little harsh, but John Kerry is, in my view, a high-ranking climate nitwit. This is John McClory. Thanks for listening.
WDEV at 90 is underwritten by Northfield Savings Bank. They're the bank of you and everything you do at nsbvt.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Celebrating 90 years. WDEV. The Brady Farkas Show is produced and funded by WDEV and the Radio Vermont Group. We welcome listener feedback. Email your comments to WDEV@radiovermont.com.
The teams you care about.
When you think about the Patriots' needs this offseason, look for one trait: explosiveness.
The stories that matter to you.
I'm not convinced that Ben Shungu, that he's not the league player of the year.
This is your home for New England sports.
Bobby Dahlbeck playing third base this year? Now that is interesting.
This is the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
What's up, everybody? Brady Farkas Show on a Tuesday right now on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Full show today, all 90 minutes, right up until 7 o'clock. High school basketball coverage back at it on our network tomorrow night. So we'll have a greatly shortened show tomorrow as we've got high school playoff action beginning at 6:15. But we've got all 90 minutes tonight, and we need them. You know, I had a ton of stuff I wanted to talk about today on the Patriots. I wanted to get to Kyle Van Noy. I wanted to get to J.C. Jackson. I wanted to talk about Bill Belichick. I don't know that we're going to get to any of it today. And the reason why is because the NFL just absolutely went to hell today. The NFL blew up. Aaron Rodgers staying, Russell Wilson going, perhaps a new contender in the AFC as a result of it. An NFC team now that looks like they're headed for a full rebuild. We're almost a month removed from playing the Super Bowl, and the NFL is still king. It's still the number one storyline. Sports is the greatest reality TV there is, and it's playing out in front of our eyes right now. We are going to get to Tom Brennan. TB is going to join us, but he's going to join us at about 6:10 today. And the reason why is because a lot of you want to hear if I'm going to cry tears about Russell Wilson being traded from my Seahawks. So I'll do that at 5:45. TB will join us, thankfully, at about 6:10. So as always, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line open, 802-585-3026. Your locally owned Napa stores in Waterbury and Morrisville. And Facebook Live, YouTube Live, you can get in on both of those channels as well. Now, let's waste no time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And here we go.
Opening thoughts on the Brady Farkas Show brought to you by Sticks and Stuff and by Swanton Lumber, Vermont's most complete locally owned home center with locations in Enosburg, Derby, Middlesex, St. Albans, and at Swanton Lumber. They're online at sticksandstuff.com. All right, let's start with part one of the quarterback craziness. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to get to Russell Wilson in 15 minutes. I know a lot of you want to hear me, as I said, cry tears about Russ. We'll do that in 15 minutes. Aaron Rodgers kind of kicked off everything today. At about 10 o'clock this morning, we started getting the tweets that Aaron Rodgers was going back to Green Bay. We saw reports that he's going to become the highest paid player in NFL history. 4 years, $200 million. Now, Rodgers has disputed those numbers, so we don't know exactly what they are, but nonetheless, it's big, and nonetheless, it likely means that Rodgers will end his career in a Packers uniform. So, it's been a while since we did this. Crew, can I get the NFL primetime music, people? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That feels good. Feels good to have it back. I've got a few thoughts on Aaron Rodgers right off the bat. Thought number one, Aaron Rodgers still playing, in general, Aaron Rodgers playing, not retiring, is just good for football. It's just good for football. Aaron Rodgers is a great player. And as frustrating as he can be and as tough as he can be to deal with for the media, as frustrating as he can be for fans and the whole vaccine thing, I get it. He's a diva. He's a drama queen. He's difficult. But you know what? He's a great player. He's a two-time back-to-back now MVP. He's a Super Bowl champion. He's a Hall of Famer. Having good players in the NFL is good for the league. Having good quarterbacks in the NFL is good for the league. So having Aaron Rodgers simply be playing is good for football and is good for fans of football. Whether you love him or you love to hate him, it's good to have good players in the league. Two, it's good for football because Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay keeps the NFC viable. I mean, my goodness, the AFC has completely lapped the NFC when it comes to the number of good teams. And Tom Brady's retiring. The Bucs, they're getting worse. The Seahawks traded Russell Wilson. They're getting worse. There's now even less good teams in the NFC. So Aaron Rodgers staying in the NFC keeps the conference more viable, more relevant, more out in our stream of consciousness. The AFC has all the teams that everyone's talking about, right? Bengals, Chiefs, Buffalo, Chargers. It's got new coaching hires, Josh McDaniels. It's got sexy quarterback play. It's now got Russell Wilson. It's got all kinds of storylines. The AFC is better than the NFC now by a wide margin. Aaron Rodgers staying in Green Bay means at the very least you've got Aaron Rodgers, you've got the Super Bowl champions, and then you've got the 49ers and Cardinals that we think are pretty good, and you've got Dallas. You've got at least some interest, and you've got some good teams still in the NFC. Aaron Rodgers staying in the NFC does that for football. That's good as well. Number three, my third thought on this is a lot of money. Now, I told you the report came out 4 years, $200 million. Rodgers himself came out and disputed that. I don't know exactly what the number is or exactly what the guarantee is, but nonetheless, it's going to be high, and I'm sure that it's going to be close. And I don't know that Aaron Rodgers is going to live up to this deal. It feels like Aaron Rodgers has to win at least one Super Bowl in order to justify this kind of commitment monetarily and to an age, to a much aging player at this point of his career. He's got to win at least one Super Bowl to justify this spending by the Green Bay Packers. This is potentially the richest deal in NFL history, and it's going to take him until he's 42 years old. That's going to be hard to justify if Rodgers goes downhill and if you don't win the Super Bowl. I also think if these numbers are true or if they're close to true, I also think that it's very, very vain of Aaron Rodgers to have wanted that much money. I'm not saying that Aaron Rodgers doesn't deserve the bag. He does. Aaron Rodgers is great. But Aaron Rodgers is 38 years old. Wanting all of that money is very much a 28-year-old thing. I've always said young players want to play for money and they want to play for stature. Older players generally want to play for championships and they want to play for legacy. Aaron Rodgers' legacy is about more than money at this point. More than money should matter to Aaron Rodgers. You don't think Aaron Rodgers could have taken a little bit less and then gotten a bunch of money from State Farm? Again, it's easy to spend other people's money and it's easy to tell other people what to do with their money. I recognize that. It's not fair of me to call out Aaron Rodgers, but I'm doing it anyways. And I feel exactly like Mike Greenberg of ESPN Radio does.
I am in no way suggesting that Aaron Rodgers shouldn't, or any person, shouldn't take every penny they can if they want to. Aaron Rodgers has more than earned it. There's no amount of money you can pay him that I would say, well, that's too much for him. He's the best. But every penny he takes from the salary cap is a penny they can't afford to pay a linebacker or a safety or a right guard or all these other people they need around him.
At this point in Aaron Rodgers' career, I would think it's about his legacy. And again, his legacy is about championships. His legacy is not just about money. And it feels like maybe he took a little bit too much of it. Again, like Greenberg said, he's worth it. He's phenomenal. And you can take as much money as you're worth what somebody's willing to pay you. But if his money impacts the team negatively down the road, then that's going to hurt his legacy. And ultimately, that is what really matters. Question number 4 that I had off of this. What happens to Jordan Love? Have you forgotten who Jordan Love is? Jordan Love was a quarterback taken in the first round by Green Bay of the 2020 NFL draft. He's now sat for essentially 2 full seasons. He has no path to playing time at this point forward. So what happens? Does he ride out on the bench for a couple of more years and be an insurance policy if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt? Do other teams start lining up to make calls on Jordan Love? He's on a rookie deal. He's inexpensive. There's certainly traits there. Do teams make calls on Jordan Love at this point? Does Brian Daboll and Joe Shane with the Giants call the Packers and try to get Jordan Love and turn him into what Daboll turned Josh Allen into? Does Seattle call now? They need a quarterback after moving on from Russ. Does Minnesota move Kirk Cousins and now they've got an opening at quarterback? If Houston trades Deshaun Watson, do they want to reset it completely and go get Jordan Love? Carolina needs a quarterback. I don't know, but somebody probably makes a call on Jordan Love. And then number 5, kind of similar. I really wondered after we got the Aaron Rodgers news, I really wondered how much quarterback movement were we really going to have? There was all this talk about Rodgers. There was all this talk about Russ. There was all this talk about Watson. Were any of them going to end up moving? Well, Rodgers stays, and that sets off the domino effect. Wilson gets traded. Now Seattle needs a quarterback. Where are they going? Is it Love? Are they going to try to get Tyler Huntley from Baltimore? Is Mitch Trubisky going to emerge from the backup of the Buffalo Bills sideline and go play in Seattle? Kirk Cousins is now the best quarterback on the market. Is he going to get moved? Does he end up in Miami? I don't know. The quarterback market may not be as correct. What happens to Jimmy Garoppolo? the quarterback market may not be as crazy as it could have been because Rodgers stayed put, but the quarterback market, it is moving. We are seeing things happening here on the quarterback front. And finally, ultimately, I think good on Aaron Rodgers for staying. I do think the money was too much. I do think it was vain to want that much money at this point in your career, but good on him for recognizing the grass isn't always greener. We've seen a number of players, specifically in the NBA in recent memory, where it hasn't worked out. Has it worked out for Kyrie Irving? Has it worked out for James Harden? Has it worked out for Dwight Howard? These players, the grass is not always greener. So good for Rodgers for recognizing that even with his quirkiness and even with his as frustrating as he can be, then good for him to know that you're staying in a place where the fans love you, the organization values you, you have a great head coach, you have a division that you can win where everybody's rebuilding, and now you have a conference that largely stinks. So good on Aaron Rodgers. He ended up making the right decision. The money was too much for me, but the decision by him was right. 802-585-3026, Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Let's go. Here we go. All right. Well, multiple people say they love my shirt. They're watching on YouTube and Facebook Live. Yeah, I've got the Seinfeld Costanza 2020 shirt on, a campaign about nothing. Excellent shirt that I got as a gift there before. Joe says the Packers should have front-loaded this deal to make it more friendly for them. We don't know exactly what the deal looks like, so maybe that is the case. Joe also says too much money paid to Rodgers. Anthony says the Broncos gave up too much to get Russell Wilson. And Travis says today is all about the king of sports, football. How does it feel, Brady, to be talking about your Seahawks? Well, I'm going to talk about my Seahawks in just a couple of minutes. Here's what's going to happen. Russell Wilson gets traded. People on Twitter texting me, they all want to know how I am feeling. We know I'm a Patriots fan by work. We know I'm a Seahawks fan by life. So how do I feel about the Russell Wilson trade? You want to get your laughs in? You want to get you want to bring out your best comedian joke at me? Go ahead. This is the time. I can take it. I'll tell you what my emotions are on the Russell Wilson trade to the Denver Broncos. That's coming up next in the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV.
Country Home Center in Morrisville is gearing up for spring with you in mind. Hi, this is Lee reminding you to improve your lighting with the new Energy Star lighting brought to you by Efficiency Vermont that will help you cut your carbon footprint down to size. Energy Star compact fluorescent light bulbs use less energy than traditional incandescent bulbs and last longer. See a variety of Energy Star lighting to fit any application at Country Home Center, 85 Center Road in Morrisville. CountryHomeCenter.net.
Hello, I'm Penny Hester Ingram, a speech-language pathologist at Copley Hospital. I treat children and adults for a broad range of communication disorders, including voice issues, swallowing disorders, and problems with articulation, fluency, comprehension, and cognitive abilities. The first step in developing a treatment plan is assessing the patient's strengths and needs. I do this through an evaluation, which includes discussing the patient's history, observing the problem, and discussing the patient's goals as well as that of the family. Treatment is a step-by-step process. Families also play a vital role in treatment as they help to bring the techniques used in the clinic to the home. If you or a family member could benefit from the services offered through Copley Hospital's Speech-Language Pathology Department, call 802-888-8303
or log on to copyvt.org.
Jameson Insurance is an independent agency serving the WDEV listening area that offers local service from local insurance professionals with national depth and resources. Whether it's home, auto, or business insurance, Jameson's seeks solutions to coverage and pricing questions for you from dozens of coverage sources. When you get a proposal from Jameson, you know that they've done their homework, and you have peace of mind. Reach out to them at JamesonINS.com.
Price drop on fun and fitness deals on the WDEV Trading Post online marketplace. Get in shape with a 1-year membership to the Swimming Hole and Stowe. Normally $850, now just $350. That's less than $1 a day. A Twin City Family Fun Center $50 gift card is half priced at $25. And a one-year individual membership to Modio Rec in Randolph is just $150. Check out all the deals on our website at WDEVradio.com.
The Brady Farkas Show now has an interactive text line, so reach out now at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Usually on Tuesdays at this time, we talk with former UVM Hoops coach Tom Brennan. He's going to be with me at about 6:10 today, so appreciate Coach Brennan being flexible with me here again today because of all the NFL craziness. So it's not often that I get to talk about my Seattle fandom. Some of you like to poke at me when the time calls for it. I bring it up once in a while in a story or to make a point, but largely I don't talk about it because it's generally not relevant to the conversations that we're having here in New England. I'm a Patriots fan and a Red Sox fan by work and a Seahawks fan and a Mariners fan by life. So again, I try to not talk about it much because I know it doesn't really matter to you. Today, it apparently matters to you all. I got multiple tweets, I got multiple texts, I got multiple comments about how I'm feeling about the Seahawks trading Russell Wilson. So you all want my reaction. Here's what we've got. First off, understand the deal. Russell Wilson and a fourth-round pick are going to the Broncos. In exchange, the Seahawks are getting 2 firsts, 2 seconds, a fifth, and then 3 players. Shelby Harris, who's a good defensive player, Drew Lock, who's a bad quarterback, and Noah Fant, okay, and toolsy tight end. So it's a lot of assets going to the Seahawks. So there's the deal. As for how I am feeling today, right now, I've got kind of 3 distinct buckets that I'm going to mention. One, right at the front, I'm appreciative. Today, as we sit March 8th, the end of the Russell Wilson era in Seattle, I am appreciative. Russell Wilson brought in the best and most successful era of Seahawks football ever. Regardless of how it ended, I am not a jersey burner or something, okay? I'm 32 years old. You're not going to see me throw my Russell Wilson jersey in a trash can and set it on fire. The Seahawks were bad for the entire first half of my life, and then they were excellent for the last decade, in large part because of Russell Wilson. He and this team gave me 10 years of good memories. It gave me 10 years worth of Sunday actually mattering. I am not a greedy sports fan. I think there's a lot of greedy sports fans out there. If you don't win the championship every year, a lot of fan bases are upset and bothered. I've never been like that. The Seahawks and Russell Wilson won a championship. They got to a second one. They could have won that one. It didn't crush me that they lost to the Patriots. The Malcolm Butler interception didn't crush me. They won a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, and I got to experience a championship like all of you have gotten to experience championships. You've gotten to experience a lot of them. The Red Sox have won multiple. The Patriots have won several. You all have had several championship moments in the last 20 years. I had none for my life. Russell Wilson was a part of the team that gave me one. I will never forget that. I will always be appreciative of it. When Russell Wilson goes into the Hall of Fame, I will be happy for him. When he gets his number retired by the Seahawks eventually, I will champion that decision. So regardless of how this has ended, today I am very, very appreciative, and I will look back at the last decade with reverence. I will look back at the last decade with appreciation, and I'm not going to be bitter about it. Could they or should they have won more with Russell Wilson? Maybe. Could they have won more if they had kept Russell Wilson? Maybe. But ultimately, this is where it ends, and I am just appreciative that I got a decade of it. I remember watching Russell Wilson's first NFL game. I was living, and I kid you not, in a dumpy house with like 5 other guys in Dallas, Pennsylvania, working at Misericordia University, and I was sitting there by myself watching games, watching the Seahawks and the Cardinals, a game in which the Seahawks lost at the end. And I thought to myself, you know what? this Wilson guy's pretty good. And for 10 years, that Wilson guy was better than pretty good. So I'm appreciative, I'm happy, I'm reflective about the whole thing. Number 2, there are people that want to take shots at me about this. There are people that want me to cry over this deal and expect me to be heartbroken. I am sad by this turn of events, but I'm always sad to see franchise icons go. You've heard me say that about multiple players. I like when things end nicely. I like when, I said I'd be okay with Gronk going to the Bills. Why? Because he gets to go home. I was John Elway ending his career in a title. Peyton Manning, coincidentally, 2 Broncos, ending his career with a title. I like when things end nicely. I don't like when people break up when they don't need to. So I'm sad about this, but I'm sad about all things that end like this. But that said, I am going to survive this as a fan. There are a lot of fans out there on social media that don't want me to survive this. I've seen a lot of people, how you feeling today? How you feeling today? Well, I just told you how I'm feeling. I'm feeling appreciative. People seem to forget. I've been a fan of sports for 30 years. I have survived a lot. I will survive this as well. With the Seahawks specifically, I survived the Rick Meyer era. I mean, if you can survive that, you can survive anything in sports. I survived the John Freese era and the Glenn Foley era. I survived Matt Hasselbeck. We want the ball and we're going to score in the interception in the 03 playoffs against Al Harris. I survived losing in the Super Bowl in a game I thought I had taken them by the refs against Pittsburgh. I've survived the Malcolm Butler thing. I've survived a lot when it comes to Seahawks football. I had my NBA team taken from my city and moved to a place it didn't belong. I've been a Mariners fan for 30 years. All I know in that organization is heartbreak. The organization that lost Ken Griffey and Randy Johnson and Alex Rodriguez. All I know is heartbreak as a fan for the most part. So I'm accustomed to losing. I know losing better than I know winning. So I've survived all of that. I've been calloused over as a sports fan. I'm going to get over this as well. Number 3, lastly, the trade itself. Well sad and well painful. It's unfortunately completely justifiable from a football perspective. Now, someone on Seattle Sports Radio can tell us in the next 24 hours whether the Seahawks, quote, got enough in the deal. But here's the bottom line. The Seahawks were not a good football team this past year. They were not a good football team the last couple of years. Russell Wilson was solely propping up the organization. They've had a bad offensive line. They can't rush the passer. They rush the passer. They can't play defense. And Russ has been running for his life for the last 5 years. So I don't know if they kept Russell Wilson. Well, it would be fun for me personally to watch him play still. I don't know that they would have been any good with him either. They play in the wrong division to be what they are. The NFC West has been stacked. If they play in the NFC East, they probably keep Russ and run it back, and they'd probably win 12 games in that division. But they don't. So the trade was completely justifiable. I don't know that they were any good if they keep Russell Wilson. They're certainly not going to be good without him. But even with him, what are they? 8-9, 9-8. 10-7 and losing the first round. I don't know that that's better than the rebuild that they're going on. Like, I would have liked to see Russell Wilson still play for the Seahawks. It would have made me feel good and my fandom feel good. But from a football standpoint, the trade is justifiable. Again, someone else can tell you over the next 24 hours whether the Seahawks got enough. My gut tells me that the players don't mean a whole lot. The picks, if they hit on them, then it will have been enough. If they don't hit on them, then they will have gotten fleeced. I mean, Denver got the best player, so they've won the trade now. If the Seahawks hit on the draft picks, they can have won the trade later. Well, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Drew Lock, are they going to play with him? They'll go 4-13. If they sign Mitch Trubisky, they can go 6-11. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. So I'm not as crushed as everybody wants me to be. I don't ever take phone calls, okay? We don't ever take phone calls. But this phone call came in the commercial break, so I took it. And he's been waiting on hold here for 10 minutes. It's an old friend / radio adversary of mine, CJ formerly of Burlington, who is now CJ of Salt Lake City, Utah, who's also a Broncos fan, who I think wants to call in to rub my nose in my own tears. I'm not sure what CJ wants to do, but CJ, it's good to talk with you again. It's been a while. I hope you are well. Congrats on getting Russ as a Broncos fan. Now, what exactly are you looking to troll me on here, I assume? What's up?
Hey, Brady. How are you doing today?
I just told you how I'm doing. I'm sad but appreciative. So how do you want me to be feeling today?
Well, I mostly just wanted to call because, over the years, you've trolled me on Twitter a lot about Super Bowl 48. You've sent me gifs of the ball going over Peyton Manning's head and all that. So yeah. I just thought I needed to kind of return the favor a little bit and rub it back in your face now that we got the guy from you.
I got the ring, and I've got that memory forever. So this is not going to I don't think that this is equal payback. Put it that way. I don't think that this is equal payback.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, too. I've kind of been seeing reports today that some teams in the NFC might offer a little more. I think the Bears and the Commanders reportedly both offered 3 first-round picks. Are you okay with the Seahawks taking a little less to get them out of the NFC, or would you rather have gotten more draft picks back in the deal?
That's a good question. I don't think the Bears would have offered that considering they had Justin Fields, who they just traded up for last year. So I don't believe that the Bears offered that. As far as not trading him to Washington, yeah, I would have rather seen him go to the AFC. That would have been my first goal, was get him out of the NFC. It's one thing to trade him. It's another thing to, be beaten by him consistently, or maybe, God willing, if you can get to the playoffs, be beaten by him in the playoffs. So I'm okay with it. I know the Seahawks are going to play Denver next year. It's going to be in Seattle, so we're going to get to do the whole, Russ goes back to Seattle thing. But, that's a 1-week thing. By and large, I don't have to see or hear from Russ for the next couple of years. So I would have rather had him in the AFC.
All right, fair enough. Well, last question here, then I'll go ahead and let you go. Do you think the Broncos are Super Bowl contender now, or do you think the AFC is too much of a logjam for them? Like, where do you see them falling this year, especially with Mahomes and Herbert and Carr in that division?
I don't think the Broncos are a Super Bowl contender, but that said, because I think the AFC is so loaded, but that said, look, the Rams last year came out of a loaded division and won the Super Bowl. So it certainly is possible. They're going to have to play well enough in their division to stay afloat, and they're going to have to clean up out of it. My gut still tells me that the Chiefs are better. I think that the Broncos are now today probably better than both the Chargers and the Raiders. So I think the Broncos are a playoff team, and depending if the schedule breaks right and they can surpass Kansas City record-wise, then all bets are off. But I don't think they're as good as Buffalo or Kansas City today, but that doesn't mean that they can't, hey, the Bengals got to the Super Bowl. Doesn't mean that they can't, go on a run here.
All right, that's all I had. Just wanted to chime in real quick with those thoughts. So
all right.
Thanks for taking the call.
All right, buddy. There's CJ, formerly of Burlington, now of Salt Lake City. So appreciate CJ for calling in. We'll get the national news update. That's next on DEV.
96.1 WDEV FM Warren, 96.5 W243 AT Berry, 98.3 W252 CU Montpelier, AM 550 WDEV Waterbury.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Matt Piper in New York. A defiant Ukraine President Zelensky says he will fight to the end in a new video posted online. Behind him, piles of sandbags, a dusted fir tree, and some cars. CBS's Natalie Brand says the U.S. is hitting Russian Vladimir Putin in the wallet.
President Biden announced the U.S. is now banning Russian oil imports into the country.
That means Russian oil will no longer be acceptable at U.S. ports, and the American people will deal another powerful blow to Putin's war machine.
A new national poll shows the majority of Americans, around 71%, say they support the ban, even if it means paying more for gas.
And you probably are paying more. Tony Petrilla is a driver in Washington, D.C.
As far as I'm concerned, gas prices are irrelevant. The only thing that matters is that we take a stand.
The national average for regular is now $4.17 a gallon. The humanitarian crisis is growing, with more than 2 million refugees fleeing Ukraine. Half half of them are children. CBS's Tony DeCopel on those volunteering to keep the country from the Russians.
We spotted Christopher Callis in full body armor walking toward the checkpoint into Ukraine. Before the war, this trained pastry chef with no military experience had been splitting his time between the New York culinary scene and Ukraine. But after evacuating his Ukrainian wife and baby to safety in Portugal, he decided to go back.
Are you worried? I am absolutely worried, yes. But I'm more worried for the people there who are not able to leave. Is this something you're prepared to die for? Yes. I want my child to have a Ukraine to go back to when she's grown up.
Back here, firefighters are having limited success in tamping down wildfires in the Florida Panhandle.
A smaller fire near Panama City is about 40% contained, but the Bertha Swamp Road fire is now more than 28,000 acres large and only 10% contained. By late afternoon, it was moving northeast into Calhoun County.
So people are needing to evacuate areas and be cognizant of approaching fires.
Florida Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie.
You can see the smoke from where you're at. We want you to make sure you're paying attention.
Officials say there's been little property lost and no deaths, but the potential for both remains high. Peter King, CBS News, Orlando.
A teacher strike in Minneapolis. They walked off the job today to protest class sizes and wages. It pauses classes for some 29,000 kids.
They can't afford health insurance. They have to make a choice about whether they're going to feed their families or they're going to keep their lights on.
Becky Pringle with the National Education Association. The Dow today lost 185. The NASDAQ was down 35. S&P losing 30. This is CBS News.
There's always something new under the sun. CBS Mornings, weekdays on CBS.
Millions of people use Zoom Phone, the innovative and feature-rich cloud phone system for businesses of any size. Zoom Phone is simple to use, whether you're on a mobile device, desktop, laptop, or desk phone. And because every call is important to your business, Zoom Phone was built with reliability in mind, using geographic redundancy to keep your communications online. Empower your workforce with Zoom Phone. Visit zoom.com/phone system. Zoom, how the world connects.
Yeah, I'm so stressed. Our business is growing. We've got people all over now.
Ooma.
What is that? Meditation?
I'm recommending Ooma and their all-in-one phone, video, and collaboration solution.
Ooma?
Yep. Switching to Ooma is a cinch. Just $24.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Now you're feeling it. Visit Ooma.com. That's OOMA.com to learn more. Ooma. Smart communications for the smarter business.
Spring is almost here, and the sunniest days of the year are fast approaching. Hi, Tara here from Green Mountain Solar. Now's the best time to beat the summer solar install rush. Our full-time staff installs year-round, so you can get the most out of your solar panels right off the bat. By adding solar to your home or business early this year, you get to take advantage of all the sunny days to come. When your system produces more power than your home or business uses, the surplus builds credits to pay for the electricity when the days are short again. That's the beauty of Vermont Net Metering. All Green Mountain Solar systems come with monitoring, so you get to watch as your panels generate more and more power. Our solar advisors are ready to walk you through the process step by step, so you can make the best choice for your home or business. No hard sales, no hidden costs, and no pressure. Just the clean, resilient energy system that's right for you. Visit greenmtnsolar.com to get started. That's greenmtnsolar.com.
Think you know sports better than Brady does? Text in with your thoughts at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show right here on WDEV AM and FM and WDEVradio.com. Okay, we talked about my feelings on Russell Wilson. We talked about Aaron Rodgers. We're going to get into the Calvin Ridley stuff again later in the show. Ralph over in New York says Russell Wilson is special. I thought he would stay like you. I will root for him. Yeah, I'll root for him to be fine, but just don't beat my team again. That's all I ask for at this point. So full show podcast, remember, is available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And I do want to thank everybody again. Yesterday, we surpassed the 400,000 download mark of the Brady Farkas Show podcast. And I told you that my number one goal when I started this was just to get our show out there. And I don't necessarily care how you listen. I just want you to listen. And there's a great group of you that listen every day here live on AM 550, FM 96.1, and all of our transmitters. And the radio will always be the number one thing. It will always be the most important thing. I appreciate all of you who listen live every single day. But I also appreciate those of you who go find the show after the fact, or those of you who go and re-listen to a show, or those of you who go and re-listen to an interview. I just want this show to make an impact, to be a part of your day in some way. And 400,000 podcast downloads later, that certainly is the case for some of you. So appreciate those of you who watch live on Facebook Live and YouTube, those of you who listen live on the radio, those of you who stream us, and those of you who listen after the fact on the podcast deal. Coach Brennan is going to be with us here in just a couple of minutes. Really, Coach Brennan is like the only non-football thing that we have today. Between Rodgers, and Calvin Ridley, there's a lot of football here for March 8th. And this is the problem. Like, we should be talking baseball right now, and instead we're not. Like, I talk football a lot because I know that it's the number one sport in most of your eyes. That's just reality. I wish at times that wasn't the case, right? Like, I wish at times that the sports would stay in their seasons. And in my mind, I'm like, this is baseball season. This is NHL season. This is basketball season. And instead, we're talking about football, but football does such a great job of just continuing to feed the machine. We can't get away from it even if we wanted to. That is why the NFL has turned into king. Now, they are meeting today, baseball and the owners, so we may have an update on how that went before the end of the show. But, like, we should be talking baseball, and instead we're talking football because, again, the machine just keeps on going. So Coach Brennan be with us in a couple of minutes, but I do have one kind of off-topic question for the crowd here. So I just today completed my 9th day of training for the 5K. Now, again, a lot of you think you probably shouldn't need training for a 5K. It's been a while since I've really run. Like, I was working out 3 days a week before COVID, and I really kind of lost my exercising way in COVID, as I'm sure a lot of people did. We can make excuses and all that, but bottom line is I just didn't do a good enough job. So it's been a while since I've run. So I'm running a 5K at the beginning of April, and I'm doing a 6-week training program to kind of get back into it. Today I completed day 9, which is the end of week 3. So it's an interval training program, right? So today what I had to do was I ran for 8 minutes, I walked for 2, and then I did that 3 times. So at the end of the day, I had 30 minutes total of exercise, 24 of which were running, 6 of which were walking. And I've started to think to myself, there's kind of 2 things I would like to have happen here in this 5K. One, I would like to finish it without walking. I would like to just finish the 5K without walking. The second thing I would like to do is I would like to finish the 5K in under 30 minutes. I'd like to finish the 5K in under 30 minutes. I've also started to think, is there any way I can play the system? Is there any way where, like, I feel like if I run it without stopping, I'm going to run slower. And I don't know that I'm going to hit the 30-minute mark. If I run fast for a little while and then walk, if I run fast for 6 minutes and then walk, I might be able to get under the 30-minute mark. So what should I do? Is it more impressive to run it without stopping, but probably surpass that 30-minute mark? Or is it more impressive to maybe finish under 30 minutes, but have to walk at times? I don't know. I need your opinions. 802-585-3026. Am I weak if I walk at all in the 5K, even if it leads to a better time? What should be more important? Finishing without stopping or getting under 30 minutes if it means I have to walk a little bit? So, that's a question for the room there. Tim McQuiston of Vermont Business Magazine was on with me in the afternoon news service. I asked him that question. He said you absolutely cannot walk. He said take an hour if you need to. Take an hour if you need to, and it doesn't matter. Do not walk on the 5K. Let's see. Yeah, they want to know, am I running on a road or on the treadmill? So this is on a treadmill. And then it's not my desired thing. It's just easier at the moment, right? I have a treadmill in my complex. Outside is, look, one, it's cold, but two, it's snowy and icy and it's wet. So it's just easier for me to do it on a treadmill. It's not, I don't think, anybody's design to have to do these things on a treadmill. But yeah, my training right now is happening on a treadmill. So, and that's the other thing. I know it's easier to run on a treadmill just because you can monitor your speed. Like, that's the thing that I'm most worried about. Like, I can easily control my speed on a treadmill, whereas in, quote, real life, I'm not sure. Somebody, here we go. Anonymous texter, first time texter. So appreciate that. This is what got you in. Run the whole race. That is my gut. That is my gut too. My gut tells me that if I walk it all, it's going to be weak. Like I'm 32 years old. I should be able to run it without stopping. If I was 50, if I was 60, if I was overweight, if I had a health problem, I'm fine with anybody walking. I just think for me, given my age and general fitness level, I should be able to do it without walking. So my gut tells me take the worst time, but do it without stopping. And I don't know what it's going to like. Maybe I'll surprise myself. Maybe I'll run it in 28 minutes if I don't stop. The pressure of being around people and the pressure and adrenaline of race day might spur me forward, but it might take me 35 minutes without stopping. I don't know. But I'm definitely wondering about how it would be perceived if I walked it all. All right, continuing on here. Yeah, run the whole race. If you walk, you can tighten up. So there's a coaching tip there from Frank. That was Mark over in South Hero. So Mark said run the whole race. Let's see, we got a couple other of messages here on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Unnamed texter, first-time texter, how about talking NASCAR? Well, one, it's Tuesday. The races are on the weekend. And two, we just spoke to Rick Pigeon, Vermont native, former 23-year NASCAR pit crew member of the Stewart-Haas Racing Team administrative staff, high up in Stewart-Haas Racing. We talked with him on Friday, right before the Vegas 400. So we talked NASCAR. You can go to the podcast channel, 802, or that's the text number, rather. You can go to podcast channel, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, search for the Brady Farkas Show, and there's our Rick Pigeon interview from Friday. He was awesome. And we got a lot of praise for that interview for talking NASCAR. So we'll keep talking NASCAR, but Rick Pigeon, Fairfax, Vermont native, was with us on Friday. TJ, responding to our podcast numbers, still figuring out all the avenues to catch up with you. I just want to say I'm thankful you're around and giving us this much needed show. You've become a Vermont treasure. Been with you since you got the WDEV. Thanks for everything. Much appreciated. Congrats on the deserved success. I don't know that I would call myself a treasure, but I do appreciate those comments, TJ. So thank you. It means a lot to me. Anybody who takes the time to send us a text, anybody who takes the time to listen, that really does mean a lot to me. There's a lot of ways to listen to us. That is a great thing about WDEV and a great thing about this show. Look, the radio, live 5:30 to 7. Online, Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can get the podcast after the show. You can watch us live. Go to WDEV's Facebook page or YouTube channel. You can watch the show live there and interact with us in real time. And you can also stream us at WDEVradio.com, and you can check us on the WDEV radio app. There is a lot of ways to listen to the show live or on demand. So appreciate you, TJ. Appreciate everybody who has gotten in. So now I want to go out to the phone line. Coach Brennan is on the phone line now with us, and We're talking, as we do every Tuesday, with former UVM Hoops coach TB. TB, before you come on, I gotta play the intro for you.
He led Vermont to its greatest win in program history.
Oh, my goodness! Sorrentine hit that one from the parking lot.
He's the architect of the Catamounts basketball program.
Vance Jennings, UVM.
And he's with us now. It's time for our weekly talk with former UVM basketball coach Tom Brennan on the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Oh, I love that. That gets me so jacked up. TB is with us now. UVM men's team headed to the America East semifinals. It's going to be tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Patrick Jim, Catamounts. One loss in the regular season. They rolled through NJIT in the first round of the tournament. They're taking on Binghamton. That is coming up tomorrow night at Patrick Gym. TB, it is March. I am jacked up. How the heck are you?
Oh, I am excited, my boy. I am so excited. I forgot. And last week we talked about, you said, which do I like better, the end of the year or the beginning? And I adamantly said the end. Because it wasn't the beginning, it was the end. And but man, I used to love the beginnings as well. But right now, I am so pumped because here we are, man, and we're good, and there's a lot of good things to offer here. So best time of year basketball wise, no getting around it, and especially when you got a team like we have.
Yeah, Catamount men in the semifinals. Patrick Gym tomorrow night. They're taking on 6-seeded Binghamton. Before we get to the game and the tournament, I think I had everybody convinced that Ben Shungu was the player of the year.
You had me.
Why didn't the league coaches see it that way?
I don't know. That is a very good question. And how kind and classy of Davis to say he wanted to share it. That's just the kind of kid he is. And I think the same thing with Benny. I don't think either one of them really cared who got it or whatever. But there's no doubt in my mind you were on top of that, man. You could certainly make an argument that Benny could have won it. And I think it's just wonderful. And I always felt this way about Sorrentine and Coppenrath, that there just is not any jealousy. That you go, when you're a coach and you're on top of all that stuff, you can see when that stuff is just slipping in a little bit here or there, or something somebody says or whatever it might be. None of that with these guys. And that's what part of what makes them so special.
I don't want to make anything I'm saying sound like I'm disparaging Davis, because I'm not trying to. But basically, offensively, they were even players, essentially. They were almost the exact same point total per game. One guy won this category, one guy won that category. So the reason I go to Benny is because he's a better defensive player. He's on the all-defensive team. And he played all 18 games in the conference, whereas Davis played 15. So I would have given it to Benny, as I said all along. But I think Davis won it based on reputation and what he did last year. When you're a coach voting, how much does reputation play into what you think?
And when I was a coach voting, it didn't play anything into it. Really, it didn't. I just took the year as it was. And a matter of fact, this is what a child I was one year. There was a kid named Bassett or Basquet or something who transferred into Delaware. This is before people were transferring. And he transferred in, he got a waiver. He didn't have to sit. And he was a good player. He was an all-league player. And I didn't vote for him. And I publicly said, I'm not voting for him. There's no way I'm voting for him. And it was really childish. It was ridiculous. I called Mike Bray later, got the kid's number, to try to call him and apologize. But obviously it was too late then. But I don't think you vote on reputation. But I do think this, my boy, it's like a heavyweight champ. You got to knock him out. If you're the defending champ. And I don't think he did anything to lose it. He might not have done more to win it. But obviously, either guy would have been a very appropriate choice in my mind, no doubt about it. And knowing them as well as I do, it's just easy to think so highly of them because of the way they both handled it.
Gotta say, I'm happy with how this bracket is shaken out. I did not want to see Hartford in the semifinal.
Let me get it. No, I'm done. Now you need to stop for 1 minute, okay? I'm gonna go Stephen A on you right here. What we are going to romp through this thing. I promise you. Now, and let me tell a story. Back in the old days, this team is the toughest team I have seen since 2003, 4, and 5. Those guys were tough as hell. One of the reasons they won was because of their toughness. And that's one of the reasons this team is going to win. I tell you a story. We went to Maine, the last game of the regular season in 2005. Sorrentine was hurt. Copperrath was sick. And we got popped up there. And I remember a cute story. I got a technical. What happened was my assistant didn't get the job. He thought he was getting a job, and he didn't get it, right? So now we got to play it out with him being very, very bitter. And I totally understood it. I didn't agree with it, but I totally understood it. And he was mad at the world, right? He's pissed at everybody. Okay, great. All right, so now we go up there. It's awful. The trip, it's terrible. You can't even imagine. We've already won the league, right? So it doesn't matter. And I'm saying to these other guys, Hayden, Mopagila, and those guys, all right, now you, all right, not that they were the least bit jealous. I said, all right, we got stars. You guys aren't necessarily stars, but you think you're stars, so be a star today. Go ahead, So we go up there. We play like dog do, and we're just I get a technical. My assistant is at the end of the bench. It's a mess, right? So now I'll never forget it. I said to the official, I said, if I get another technical, does that mean I can't coach in the first playoff game if you throw me out of here? And I'd never been thrown out of a game. That's another thing. And he said, not that I should say it proudly, but you're not supposed to be thrown out of games. But anyway, I said to him, if I get another tee, he said, TB, you can do cartwheels across the court. I don't care. Just go back and coach your team. I ain't giving you another technical. I don't care what you do. So don't make it hard on me. So we go, we get beat, and we come home, and I'm pissed. I'm mad at everybody, and I'm worried. Now we lose at Maine by 20 points, but we don't have Copperrath and Sorrentine. And so we get back to the gym, and it's about 10 o'clock. It was a 1 o'clock game. So by the time we got back, it was 10 or 10:30. It was late at night. And I was just, fuming and worried and, God, oh, man, I hope they're going to be all right and blah, blah, blah. So I walk in the gym at 10:30 to, put our stuff. Everybody's walking to put their stuff back. And Sorrentine's in there shooting around. So I walked up to him. I said, we're in trouble. He said, what are you talking about? I said, I don't know, man. We got this coaching situation, this mess. And we played like crap today, and it would, it kind of worried me, And he went, hey, don't you worry about nothing. We're going to roll through this thing. It was like, honest to God, Brady, it was like your dad told you. You think, oh, okay, I feel better now. And we did roll through it, if you remember. And that is my proclamation. We are going to roll through this thing. We already started. We're going to roll tomorrow night, and then we're going to beat whoever comes in here Saturday, because this is the best team we've had, I think, in a long, long time.
Well, I hope you're right, TB. I hope you're right. Former Catamount Hoops coach Tom Brennan with us here on the Brady Farkas Show on this Tuesday on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. I spent some time talking about this yesterday. I just have immense respect for a guy like Cam Gibson, who this year clearly hasn't gone the way that he would have wanted to personally, right? You come in here as a senior, you want to play and play a lot, and you want to be a fixture in the rotation for a really good team. He starts the first 8 games, and then he gets benched, and then he doesn't even play in I think 8 of the 18 conference games. And when he does play, he's playing 4 minutes or 5 minutes in garbage time most of the time. He comes off the bench and gets 12 points the other day, and he's talking about how the bench wants to bring energy. And I'm just like, I have immense respect for that, because it would be very easy for you personally to go in the tank when the season isn't going the way you want, and he hasn't.
Absolutely. What's funny, Brady, is that when I go in the locker room after, I only go in after wins, of course, and I have this little saying, and we've been doing it for 10 years now. And then I go by each guy individually and, give him a little word, give him a little, hey, good job, stay with it, whatever it might be. And he's the last guy I get to every time where his locker is located. He's the very last guy. Now, we've gone for games and games where he wasn't playing. And I would just walk by and say, listen, you hang in there. You hang in there. We're going to need you. We're going to need you. And honest to God, he would just say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, I don't know whether he was just patting me on the head or whether he was serious about it. And then I watched the production that he's had in the end of the season, and I said, he's a man. That's a man right there. Somebody will do that. And you're right, man. You only come for that 1 year. Now, it turns out he might stay. I hope he does. And that would be because then he would really have a chance to show out next year. Him and Deloney, that's not a bad backcourt to start with, So But the fact that he hung in there, Bailey Patella, God love him, he was in the game 5 seconds. He got a steal the other day. 5 seconds. Like, that's just who he is. And then it was funny because he got a dunk break, and he was coming right down toward me, and the guy was like having none of it. You know, the guy was chasing him and I'm thinking, this is going to be a conflict at the rim. And sure enough, man, he just soared up over and splashed it down. And I thought, man, that's just who this guy is. It's always who he was, you know. So we have a lot of very, very good pieces, guys that have totally given of themselves for the team. And you don't get that all the time now these days. And the fact that these guys have done it. And again, Missoula reminds me so much of Hain and Mo Pagila. Really, they were kind of the same guy. His toughness. You know, I said to him, you know what your career is going to be? People say, steal, Missoula, layup. You must have 500 points on steals and layups, you know. So, but he's tough, and he's just such a great teammate. So I love this team. I'm sad we're only going to get to see him play twice more at home, to be honest. But I will go out. I'm going out on a big limb here for a team that won the league by 6 games, right?
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully, the Catamounts can keep rolling, and Saturday we'll have the conference tournament game. I'll be at that one if they get there. So I want to end on this.
If they get there.
Well, hey, I don't like to put the cart before the horse. So let me end on this. I would go to a poem, and I actually got an email compliment about your poem, but I want to ask you this question instead. So I'm going to pass on the poetry for today.
Yeah, we don't need poetry today. All right.
Women's team tonight is taking on UAlbany in the America East semifinals. First playoff win, I believe, in more than a decade. First home playoff game the other day in 21 years. Take me back to what it was like when you were building up the program, because that's kind of where the women are now. It seems to be a pretty fun time for them.
Great question. Early in the year, I'm getting ahead of myself now. The playoff game the other night was extraordinary from the crowd that they got, considering where they were the first game of the season, you know, in terms of people. And I remember vividly in the beginning, really paying attention to who was there, who was coming, you know, like, are we getting better enough that more people are coming? And in the beginning, we weren't, of course. First couple of years, we were awful. So, but you just knew, like, okay, if we get 200 more people, or if we get another, you know, and I remember saying that to her after the first game. I said to Alicia, look, I know one thing you're doing, and I did it. You're thinking, God, man, how do we get more people in here? What do we do? I said, you just got to win. That's what you do. And if you just keep winning and be a good citizen of the community and the university, build up goodwill, get out and shake hands, it'll help. And honest to goodness, Brady, their crowd at that playoff game I'll bet it was 4 times what they had in their opener. So it's really good. And they're young. And, of course, Gil Williams, my girl, because she's from CVU, and she's the reason I really got back into the program. And she was named Rookie of the Year. That was wonderful. But last year they won 10 games, and this year they've won 20 already. And I saw that Albany team. They were here. I think we might have beat them here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But, yeah, we can beat them. There's no doubt we can beat them. But good year either way. Tremendous year for the women. And how about this? We might win like 50 games. But you know what is scary? We can win 27 with the boys and not go. Think about that.
Don't put the jinx on them, as you said.
That's off the record.
Catamount women tonight, Catamount men tomorrow. TB, hopefully next week we're talking about a Selection Sunday NCAA tournament bid and a matchup for UVM.
Oh, wouldn't that be great? And somewhere we can go. That would even be better, huh?
Let's go to Hartford again.
Yeah, amen. TV, boy, thank you.
Absolutely. Tom Brennan, always the best, with us every Tuesday here on the Brady Farkas Show. Appreciate his flexibility in coming on a little bit later today than usual. A couple messages on the Napa-Morrisville, Napa-Waterbury text line saying they enjoyed the talks with TB. I got to shout out, I did get a really nice email from Al up in Milton who said he loves the TB interview, said he loved the Elisa Kresge interview yesterday, so appreciate you, Al. I've always said people who take the time to text, people who take the time to email, whether it's good or bad, I appreciate that you care enough to make your opinion heard and make your thoughts known. So I really do appreciate that. Before I break here, I just have to acknowledge TB's attitude in that last question talking about the women. The genuine happiness, the genuine support that he had for Elisa Kresge and her program, and they're going to tip off here in a half an hour against Albany. That was pretty remarkable to me, because it's easy for coaches to get territorial about their program and about their spot in the athletic department. Like, this program gets this, well, why doesn't mine? This program gets that, well, why doesn't mine? And you always feel like you're fighting for your own territory, for your own turf. And I get that Coach Brennan isn't in it right now, so it's easier for him, but there's a genuine happiness there that he wants to not only see the men's program succeed, that he wants to see the women's program succeed. And that is not the case everywhere. I promise you, when I worked at UAlbany, and I can say this now because neither of the coaches are there, but Will Brown, who I really like, and Katie Abrahamson-Henderson, who was the women's coach, and they were both very good. At the time that I was at Albany, they were both going to the NCAA tournament. Albany went to 3 straight when I worked there. The UAlbany women went to 6 straight when I worked there. So they were they did not like each other. They did not like each other. They were in a constant battle for attention, for eyeballs, for dollars, for advertising, for attention, for media time. They were in a constant battle. Those programs did not get along. And there's Coach Brennan telling you that he's going to the women's games, that he's talking to Elisa Kresge. And I think, again, he's not in it. It's easier for him to be the kind of fun uncle or the grandfather who looks over the entire athletic department. But the fact that he sees it as an equal part of the pie, I think that's pretty cool. And I don't necessarily think that that is the case everywhere. As I said, I know it's not the case everywhere. It is the Brady Farkas Show. It is WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Again, Catamount women, they are on the floor at UAlbany tonight, 7 o'clock. Catamount men coming up tomorrow. When we come back, we'll get to who's saying what. And the Russell Wilson trade. I told you if I were the Patriots, I would make a phone call. I would not have done this deal. That said, this deal is bad for the Patriots. I'll tell you why. That's next on DEV.
WDEV at 90 is brought to you in part by New England Municipal Resource Center, NEMRIC, proudly supporting local government, local businesses, and WDEV.
Gambling took so much away from me. I lost money, friends, so much loss I knew I could never get it all back. But thanks to recovery,
Dad, dinner.
I did get back the things that matter most. Coming! For free 24/7 confidential counseling, call 1-800-522-4700 or go to problemgambling.vermont.gov. A message from the Vermont Lottery.
Push it, pull it, or tow it sale is back at Lamoille Valley Chevy. We would like to thank all our customers and our entire team for helping Lamoille Valley Chevy become the #1 volume Chevy truck dealer in Vermont for the 2nd year in a row. Due to the success of the countdown to 4,000, our lot is now overstocked with more one-owner, low-mileage, late-model cars, trucks, and SUVs than I can remember. And I've instructed my entire team, we need to sell them down. Here's how the push it, pull it, or tow it sale works. Through the end of March, anyone can push, pull, or tow any single trade to Lamoille Valley Chevy and get a $3,000 minimum trade allowance towards any in-stock pre-owned car, truck, or SUV on our lot. Don't worry. If your trade is worth more, you're going to get it. And folks, at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we have a huge selection of certified pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs that come with a better-than-new 100,000-mile warranty, and you can get a guaranteed minimum trade allowance of $3,000 on these vehicles, too. So get to the push it, pull it, or tow it sale happening right now at Lamoille Valley Chevy. And remember, at Lamoille Valley Chevy, we know price matters.
At Matt Clark's Northern Basement Systems, they specialize in all things basementy. Matt Clark's Northern Basement Systems is the leading basement waterproofing, crawl space, and moisture control and foundation repair contractor in Vermont and New Hampshire. Their state-of-the-art features will help get the water out of your basement and keep your basement dry now while preventing basement leaks and flooding far into the future. Let them weatherize your drafty crawl spaces and basements using spray foam insulation. Matt Clark's Northern Basement Systems. They specialize in all things basementy.
My Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take, but early detection allowed us to take control of the situation
together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
We all know that Vermont is a place like no other. Join host Ricks and Gary for Vermont Viewpoint, weekday mornings from 9 to 11, as he celebrates what makes Vermont so unique and special. If you can't listen live, you can always listen to the free podcast available at WDEVradio.com. Brought to you by the Warren Store. Funky, friendly, and almost world-famous WarrenStore.com. The Vermont Viewpoint podcast at WDEVradio.com. Your chance to be part of the show is on the text line at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Yeah.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Show brought to you in part by Pro Driver Training. That's Pro Driver Training, Vermont's premier truck driver training school, online at ProDriverCDL.com. So, I told you a couple of times in this offseason, if I were the Patriots, I would make a call on Russell Wilson's availability. I told you that I would offer 2 first-round picks and Mac Jones in order to get the deal done, and I stand by that. I would have done both of those things. That said, if I were the New England Patriots and this deal was presented to me for Russell Wilson, the deal that was made, I would not have done it. As much as I want Russell Wilson, or I wanted Russell Wilson to play with the New England Patriots, as much as I think he could have made a huge difference in their quest to win the AFC East and ultimately stay relevant in the AFC, this is not a deal that I would have made. This would have been too much for the Patriots. The Denver Broncos gave up a first-round pick this year, which is number 9 overall. They gave up their second-round pick this year, and they gave up their first and second-round picks next year, which should be later, given by the fact that we think that the Broncos will be good. But the first and second-round pick next year, they also gave up 3 players, 2 of which seem to have some pretty discernible value in Shelby Harris and in Noah Fant. That would have been too much for me as the Patriots. I would not have done that. So I will step back from my idea that Patriots should have been a huge player for Russell Wilson. They should not have been a player at that price. That said, the fact that this deal went down, with Denver is horrible for the Patriots. A lot of people want to know how I felt about the Russell Wilson trade as a Seahawks fan. We shouldn't be talking about me. We should be talking about how all of you feel. We should be talking about how Patriots Nation feels about this. This is a huge deal. This is yet another roadblock for the Patriots in terms of getting back to real prominence in the AFC. You know I'm not big on rankings, but as it stands right now, I think the Patriots are in the bottom half for sure of the AFC, and they're probably teetering on the bottom third of the AFC at this point. There's a lot of teams ahead of them that we think are better. I mean, let's just look at it. Buffalo's better. That's one. In the AFC North, I would say that Baltimore is better. So Buffalo's better, Baltimore's better. And I would say Cincinnati's better. So that's 3. Then there's in the AFC South, Tennessee is better still. And then in the AFC West, I would say that all 4 teams are better. So that's 5, 6, 7. So that's 8 teams right there. 8 out of the 15, right? Because the Patriots are taken out of it. 16 teams in the AFC, 15 if you remove the Patriots. I've got 8 of those 15 instantly better than New England. And then Indy, close. Cleveland, roster-wise, close. Miami, roster-wise, close. This deal's bad for the Patriots. They are now closer to me, to the bottom of the AFC than they are to the top. And this is part of the reason that I would have gone and made a move for Russell Wilson, or I at least was interested in it, because this was the fear that Russell Wilson comes to the AFC and you get pushed even further behind. The AFC West teams are going to beat up on each other, But remember last year, the NFC West was the best division in football, and 3 teams got to the playoffs there. It's very plausible that 3 teams get to the playoffs out of the AFC West. Pick any 3 that you want. So let's just say 3 teams go to the playoffs in the AFC West. Well, someone's going to win the AFC North and someone's going to win the AFC South. That's 5 playoff teams. I think Buffalo is better. They would win the East. That would be 6th. You are battling for the 7 spot right now. Like you're battling for the 7 spot as it stands, and that is not a place that you want to be. So now, I mean, what do we got? You got that 4th AFC West team that's going to battle with you. You got Indy that's going to battle with you. You've got Miami that's going to battle with you. Cleveland that's going to battle with you. Pittsburgh that's going to battle with you. I mean, Baltimore that's going to battle with you because one of them, Baltimore or Cincy probably wins the division. The other one goes to the wild card. This is not a good place to be for the Patriots. This is not at all a good place to be. In fact, it's easier for me to look out here and say, like, I think the Patriots are better today than Jacksonville. They're better than the Jets, and they're better than Houston. Those are the only ones that I am fully confident in the Patriots being better than today. Every other team in the AFC, I could see being better. Pittsburgh right now, I think the Patriots are better as well because they don't have a quarterback. Not a good situation for the Pats. This is part of the reason why I would have tried to make a deal for Russ. Now, it didn't happen. That's fine. I think that this price was too much to pay. But understand that you are now closer to the bottom than you are to the top. That's not where you want to be. Everybody who's just assumes that Mac Jones is going to have the Patriots in the playoff conversation every year, not in this AFC. Again, Buffalo's better, Cincy's better, Baltimore's better, Tennessee's better. The entire AFC West is pretty darn close to better, if not better. And then even the fringy teams, Cleveland, Indy, they might be better than you. As it sits today, the New England Patriots are not a playoff team. A lot has to happen, draft, free agency, but other teams are adding and you're subtracting. J.C. Jackson's going to be gone. Kyle Van Noy is going to be gone. You're going to need an entire new linebacker room. Other teams are getting better. You're getting worse right now as we stand through the offseason. We're going to talk a lot about the Patriots tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a short show. We're on only from 5:30 until 6:15. We got high school basketball coming up with our coverage at 6:15 tomorrow. Boys playoffs, White River Valley and Long Trail, and then Montpelier and Spalding. So a lot of high school hoops tomorrow with Brent Curtis. We are only going to have that 45-minute show. Freddie Coleman's going to join me. Tom Caron's going to join me. They're both going to be on the podcast channel. We're going to talk almost exclusively about the Patriots tomorrow for that 45 minutes, and we're just going to rip through it. We're just going to rip through it, and we're going to have a blast. We're going to have some fun. But Freddie and TC, they will stop by on the podcast channel. There is a lot to get to. What about Amari Cooper coming to New England? What about what happened with Kyle Van Noy? Why did he get released? All kinds of stuff to get to. Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury. Text lines open, 802-585-3026. Hey, remember yesterday when Calvin Ridley got suspended for an entire season for gambling on the NFL? I know it seems like a long time ago because of everything that happens with the quarterbacks, but let's get back into the Calvin Ridley situation. Should he have been allowed to bet on his own team? We're going to talk about that. That's next on DEV.
Folks, with inventory issues still affecting dealers across our industry, at Lamoille Valley Ford, we have found the solution for getting you into a new vehicle. Tell them, kid.
Thanks, Dan. At Lamoille Valley Ford, we're ready for retail. That's right. We are ready to retail order your new Ford today at Lamoille Valley Ford. With our high-volume sales history, there's no better dealership to custom order your new Ford car, truck, or SUV. We're prioritizing your personalized vehicle and doing whatever we can to expedite delivery so you don't have to wait any longer than you have to. And get this, when you retail order from Lamoille Valley Ford, we will discount your order an additional $1,000. Combine that with huge Ford discounts and incentives, you can take up to $6,000 off a retail ordered F-150. That's huge. Need a vehicle today? No worries. At Lemoyne Valley Ford, we have by far Vermont's largest selection of new Fords, including over 150 F-Series trucks in stock and incoming.
Woo! So drive Route 14, 15, or 16 to Lemoyne Valley Ford in Hardwick and save big during our Ready for Retail sales event.
The future depends on teachers. Every day, teachers are shaping our tomorrows, starting their students on journeys that will change the course of history. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who will make preventing pandemics their life's work, sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who will help combat climate change, and generating possibilities for a student who will be the first in their family to graduate college. It all starts with teachers who meet challenges with creativity, who reinvent education for the future, who work towards a school system that lifts up every child, regardless of race, income, or zip code, and to enable the full potential of our students, our communities, and our country. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
Did you serve in the military? Do you have access to your local Vermont or Western New Hampshire public library? If so, stop by and ask library staff for a free packet from the White River Junction VA containing information on benefits and eligibility. Library Gateways to VA is a project partnering the White River Junction VA with area public libraries. So stop by your local library today and ask for a Library Gateways to VA information folder.
Just because you're away from your radio or out of our broadcast range doesn't mean you have to miss out. Listen live on the WDEV stream, brought to you by AARP Vermont. WDEV's morning, midday, and afternoon news services, Vermont Viewpoint, and the Brady Farkas Show can all be found on the WDEV stream at WDEVradio.com. Brought to you by AARP Vermont, working to bring down the cost of prescription drugs for all Americans. AARP.org/VT.
Make your opinion heard by texting onto the Brady Farkas Show at 802-585-3026.
Now it's back to the Brady Farkas Show on WDEV AM, FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Welcome back in, Brady Farkas Show, right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com. Remember, Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next. That'll start at 7 o'clock right here on WDEV. Quick news from baseball. The two sides are meeting today. Bob Nightingale reports there's been some progress made. Supposedly, if there's not a deal done by today, then there's going to be more games canceled. Don't know what the progress is. Don't know how close it's brought the two sides together. Hopefully we have good news by the time we come in here tomorrow, but don't know that that's going to be the case. At this point, I don't believe that we're going to play games before the end of April. May 1st is the date we've heard a lot of. I think that sounds plausible and reasonable, so I don't know that the deal gets done tonight. Let's stick with the NFL, which is where we've been for most of the show today, and let's go back to the Calvin Ridley situation. Remember this. Yesterday, and now it seems like years ago based on all this quarterback news, Ridley, the wide receiver for the Falcons, has been suspended for at least 1 year for gambling on NFL games, including his own team. Now, he bet his team to win, but he gambled on his own team. That's a no-no. 24 hours removed from hearing the news, I largely feel the same way that I did yesterday. My thoughts have not changed much. The 1 year punishment is justified. You can't gamble on NFL games if you're an NFL player. Players cannot do this. The NFL needed to make an example here that this is not okay and that this will not be tolerated. The league is so in bed with gambling, they have to create a line somewhere, and this has to be the line. So the punishment needed to be harsh in order to send the message. Players have access to inside information, so it's not fair from a gambling perspective. It's not fair to the league's partners to have insider trading basically going on, and it's not fair for the integrity of the game. Okay, players have to know the integrity of the game is intact. And that's what we as fans want to know. And Dan Graziano of ESPN said that as much this morning.
If I buy a ticket to a sporting event, the bare minimum I don't expect a great game. I don't expect all the great players to play, especially if it's an NBA game. But what I do expect is that it's an honest game, right? That it's being played fairly, that each team is trying to win. If you start letting in gray area in terms of participants being able to bet on games, then that calls the entire thing into question.
And it's not just the fans. It is the players, too. They want to know that the games are fair. It's why there's no steroids allowed. There's why certain supplements aren't allowed. It's partly why you have uniformed rules on practices and filming and all that, so that teams aren't gaining an unfair advantage and that the games lose their competitive integrity. So, again, I feel like 24 hours later, the punishment is still justified. I do believe Calvin Ridley will play again. I do believe he should get an opportunity to play again. But I believe that the punishment here is fair. And in fact, the NFL community seems more bothered by this incident with Ridley than they do almost any other off-field issue. This one matters to them because this directly impacts all of them and directly impacts their abilities and directly impacts the league product. 2, I do not feel bad for Calvin Ridley. He made a choice. I keep hearing this referred to as a mistake. No, he made a choice, and he made a poor one. So I don't feel bad for him. But I do feel like this was inevitable from the NFL standpoint. They've gotten so in bed with gambling, and we're literally being told how good it is, how much fun it is, why you should be doing it, that eventually I feel like somebody was going to cave and somebody was going to explore it. And that person is Calvin Ridley. When you dance with the devil, something bad is bound to happen. And here it is in the form of Calvin Ridley. I don't feel bad for him. He made the choice. He needs to live with it. That said, I can't help but wonder if the NFL's gambling partnerships and the NFL putting gambling at the forefront did spur this on a little bit. 3, the thing I think that is more pressing right now is this issue. If a player can get suspended for a year for gambling, what's going to happen to Dolphins owner Stephen Ross? Remember the accusations that came out a couple of weeks ago from Brian Flores that Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, offered Flores $100,000 a game to lose? That also is fixing outcomes. That also is changing the integrity of the NFL game. If Calvin Ridley, a player, can be suspended for a year for gambling on games that he's not a part of and gambling for his own team, then Stephen Ross needs to sell the team. If these accusations are found to be true, then Stephen Ross needs to be forced to sell the team and he needs to be banned for life. He needs to be kicked out of the club forever. Tanking is an organizational philosophy. I get it. I understand it. But the thought has always been that when the organization tanks, the players that are left are allowed to try to win. The coaches that are left are allowed to try to win. Stephen Ross tried to undermine that, allegedly. If Ridley gets a year, Ross should get life. He should have to sell the team and be done for life. I said it that day. I believe it today. What exactly is going to happen to Stephen Ross? And then number 4, I don't really have time for it. I want to give this more time to breathe. But you think about this. I hate doing this to you all, but Jermaine Wiggins, former Patriots tight end, he said today on WEEI that he thinks that NFL players should be allowed to bet on their own team as long as they are betting on their team to win. That is what Wiggy said. I do not agree with that. I've got his take and I've got my rationale. We will have to do that tomorrow. But remember, tomorrow is a short show. So we will get to this tomorrow. Thanks to everybody who got in on the Napa Morrisville, Napa Waterbury text line. Thanks to everybody who watched on YouTube and on Facebook Live. Jazz with George Thomas is coming up next right here on WDEV, AM and FM, and WDEVradio.com.
Millions of people use Zoom Phone, the innovative and feature-rich cloud phone system for businesses of any size. Zoom Phone is simple to use, whether you're on a mobile device, desktop, laptop, or desk phone. And because every call is important,